You know immediately if you're talking to someone who wants to talk, shop with you about, I mean, my cameras don't have names. If that's what you're thinking about, you're not taking pictures. And for many, many years, I just worked with natural light and learned about natural light and learned to see what the natural light gives you. I think what is kind of incredible, and I guess we have lost this with the loss of the darkroom, is to take a photograph, take the camera, go out in the world, take a picture, come back to the darkroom, process the film, and see it come up in the trays. I mean, as a kid, it was just like magic. It was just so powerful to see it. And that's how I learned, was constantly looking at this work over and over again. And it was always like a miracle to me. Oh my God, it came out. I couldn't believe it came out. There are different issues now. Like you see the image on the back of your camera. To me, it sort of stops you as you're going along. It's hard to believe this, but, you used to photograph and not know what you had for hours, if not days, afterwards. You didn't know if you had it, I think that is still going on. No one's going to want to hear this, but it's just work. Photography really is the study of light. I use natural light as a teacher. I constantly am looking, like, where's the light coming from? What does it look like? I'm trying to emulate, actually natural light most of the time. I use a lot of the ambient light, and then I add a small key light on the person, usually from the direction of where the ambient light is coming from. And I'm very, very, very aware of ambient light and of the light and where it is. And I'm very interested in what it means to try to get a room to look like it really is the natural light that you're seeing in the room. And it's one of my biggest frustrations is I see what the natural light looks like, and I want to try to take a photograph that feels like that natural light. And it just drives me crazy sometimes when, if you start to put up lights, you take away what the natural light is giving you. And I'm very aware of that, and it's a constant struggle. Now, with the digital, one has this idea that you can use less light, and you can, but the imagery changes. I mean, it really does change. I remember being on the road with the Clinton campaign, and I was with, several photographers in the New York Times, the Washington Post, and several other photographers, and Mrs. Clinton went into a very dark restaurant, and there's hardly any light in it at all. And I go in and I'm trying to shoot it as if I'm seeing the way I'm seeing it, that light, the very dark, and it's filled, with 100 people meeting Mrs. Clinton, and I'm trying to shoot in it, and the walls are wood, and it's just everything is really dark inside, and I'm trying to shoot how that looks. And then I come out and I get in the car with the other photographers, and they're sending in their work, and I'm looking over their shoulder, and they shot it, f/60, using they set their film speed for 6,400 or 8,000 or something, and the work looks like they were in McDonald's. I mean, it looks bright as hell. I realize that they have to get the image regardless of what happens to the look of the picture. But that wasn't the same room I was in. We're all trying to figure out digital right now and understand how to use it. I like going somewhere with possibly one small battery-powered light source, and that's it. You know what I mean? And then maybe some bounce boards, and maybe an umbrella, in case you don't have a choice about how bright the sun is. But I think that when you start to build up too much equipment, you're just dead. You can't move. You can't pivot. You can't change your mind. It's really about how you see and translating, how the best you can with the limits of a camera and film or digital, into making imagery. For the longest time, I couldn't stand a light inside a room, and I would put lights outside the windows and push it through and just create light in the room. But that got a little boring after a while because I didn't really, it just looked canned to me. It just looked canned. I continue to use the natural light and I add a little bit of strobe. I do believe Nicole Kidman has probably a strobe going through the window. I could be shooting at a slow shutter speed, just because when you mix the slow shutter speed, which brings in more ambient light in with the strobe, it makes it softer. It does make it softer. Jack Nicholson, very same thing. You have the lights on the car, you have the sunset, and there's just a key light on him, a small key light on him, and you're opening up for the rest of the picture, and you're balancing, your little strobe that's on Jack Nicholson with the rest. Obviously, I'm not lighting up the Mulholland Hills there. So, and those are the lights from the car that are the backlights. I mean, you're just balancing the natural light with the strobe, and the strobe is giving you some direction. I mean, you learn. I mean, I used to work at the end of the day, waiting. You're supposed to work at the end of the day and the beginning of the day, right? That's when you have the best light, quote unquote. But at the end of the day, I mean, I used to sit there and watch the sun just go. And you would you would have to meter the sun as it was going, and you'd have to be constantly working out your ratios between the daylight and the strobe light to sort of balance. And, hence a lot of the work being sort of overstrobed at the beginning, not really knowing how to sort of balance that strobe as the light goes down. I've sort of learned to use less and less strobe. And sometimes I shoot, a good rule of thumb is to do your strobe at maybe a stop under the ambient light. So you're actually going, the strobe really does, it picks up a lot. It's a lot brighter than you think it is. I'm scared of a sunny day. I don't like sunny days. It's sort of a joke, you get there and whoever you're with says, "Oh, aren't you glad I brought you the good weather?" And it's like, for me, for the kind of work that I do, where I mix the strobe with the ambient, I pray for an overcast day because I can work better in flatter light and just add my little strobe to it than if I have bright sunshine or no clouds in the sky. I start to weep if I see a sunny day. So you could, and the odds of getting, well, the days of getting your subject in the early morning or the end of the day are sort of over. You just get the time you get. You never get the best time of day when you're like it's suddenly 12 noon and you have to sort of, make the best of it. You have to decide what you're going to do. Sometimes I use shade umbrellas to just soften the hard light over the subject, and then I still add my strobe. It's safer if you're doing this kind of work to probably work in the morning because you have the option of having some soft light in the morning, and then the light stays up. If you're working at night, you get that beautiful light, and then it's dark. So you have a better chance of being able to work longer in the morning.